Yo, what's up, gamers? So, I walked into the break room today and Olivia from accounting is standing by the vending machine, staring at a receipt like it just failed an audit. And right there on the bottom, there's a charge that says, horse outfit $2.50. So I'm like, Olivia, why does the break room horse have a wardrobe budget? And she goes, it's not a horse outfit, it's a premium mount protection. Then she points to the mop bucket and I swear she taped a tiny clipboard helmet to the handle with a sticky note that says improved survivability. Brother, that is a cleaning supply. It does not need defensive stats. But back in 2006, Bethesda charged players real money to put armor on a horse. Not a new land, not a new questline, not a new class. Horse armor. And somehow that tiny DLC became one of the most infamous jokes in gaming history. So now I welcome you back to the Janitor Files, a series where we mop up gaming's biggest disasters, weird industry experiments, corporate decisions, and the messes the industry does not clean up. So before we get into this, do me a favor, hit like, subscribe, and help me keep this break room from charging extra for the mop handle. And drop a comment down below. Was the horse armor harmless, or was it the first warning sign? So let's grab a mop, because today Olivia is calling paid cosmetics digital value, the mop bucket has premium armor, and we're about to find out how a $2.50 joke became the industry's awkward baby picture. Before we talk about the horse clothes, we need to talk about the game they were attached to, because this was not some random bargain bin RPG wandering into the break room looking for loose change. This was the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. Oblivion launched in 2006 for PC and Xbox 360, and for a lot of people, this was the first game that made the Xbox 360 feel truly next gen. You step out of that prison sewer, the world opens up, and suddenly you're staring at forests, cities, dungeons, guilds, weird NPC schedules, and enough side quests to make your real life responsibilities file a missing person report. It had freedom, it had scale, it had that Bethesda energy where you start one quest, get distracted by a cave, steal 7 cheese wheels, fight a ghost, and somehow forget what the main story was for 6 hours. And on PC, the modding potential made it even bigger. Players were not just playing Oblivion, they were changing it, adding it, breaking it, fixing it, turning into whatever chaos your computer could survive. So horse armor did not become infamous because it was attached to a game nobody cared about. It became infamous because it showed up inside one of the biggest RPGs of its generation. And the reason this happened at all was because gaming was entering a new era, the digital storefront era. The Xbox 360 did not change how people played online, it changed how players bought little digital extras. Xbox Live Marketplace gave console players a storefront right on the system. No trip to the store, no expansion disc, no big box add-on. Just open the marketplace, pick something, spend points, and suddenly your console is selling you tiny digital stuff like it owns a mall kiosk. Themes, gamer posters, map packs, small add-ons, and instead of normal money, Xbox used Microsoft points, which were basically arcade tokens for the digital future. You bought the points first, then spend them on little extras before your brain had time to ask why the horse needed pants. Then on April 3rd, 2006, Bethesda released a horse armor pack. On Xbox 360, it cost 200 Microsoft points, which came out to be about $2.50. On PC, it was just $1.99. And what did players get for this? Horse armor. That is not being dramatic, that was a product. You could go to Snack Grub Bora, a chestnut handy stables near the Imperial City, and armor your own horse. There were 2 styles, Elven or Steel. Now to be fair, it was not completely useless, the armor did increase your horse's survivability. So yes, technically it did something, but that was still a tiny add-on. Not a new region, not a new guild, not a big expansion. But for a couple dollars, Bethesda gave you horse armor, and the gaming internet looked at that price tag and immediately reached for the mop. Because players were not exactly calm about this. A lot of people looked at horse armor and said, wait, that costs money? And the issue was not only the price, it was what the price represented. $2.50 does not sound like much until you remember that this was a single player RPG, and players were used to big expansions, free updates, or community-made mods. On PC especially, mods were already part of the culture. The Elder Scrolls community was used to downloading new armor, new weapons, new textures, new quests, new houses, and whatever else the modding community cooked up after midnight, for free. So when Bethesda sold horse armor, players looked at it and said, hold on, people are already making stuff like this for free. Console players were in a different situation though. On Xbox 360, you did not have the same easy mod access. You had Xbox Live Marketplace, you had Microsoft Points, you had a storefront, and that is why horse armor became a meme so fast. It was small, paid, easy to mock, and it made players ask the bigger question: what else are they going to start charging for? That fear made the backlash louder. But from Bethesda's side, this was not supposed to be some grand plan to turn every horse into a cash register. It was just an experiment. And like a lot of experiments, Bethesda was trying to figure out where the line was. Looking back, Todd Howard later said, "Horse armor is not bad. I think horse armor is fine." But his bigger point was the price. He said the price point at the time was the issue, and that matters because Xbox Live Marketplace was already selling things like themes, wallpapers, and gamer pictures. Tiny digital items were becoming normal on the dashboard, so Bethesda was not just asking what is horse armor worth, they were asking what is in-game content worth compared to a theme or a gamer picture. Pete Hines also defended the price at that time as an experiment. Basically, there was no perfect rulebook yet. Nobody knew exactly how players would value a tiny piece of content inside the game compared to something outside the game. Bethesda was not just selling horse clothes, they were testing the price tag on a new kind of digital shelf. And here's the twist. Players laughed at horse armor, articles mocked it, forums mocked it, the phrase became a punchline for bad DLC. But the thing is, it still sold. Years later, Bethesda ranked horse armor in its top 10 Oblivion DLCs by lifetime sales on Xbox Live. It was not number one, it was not some secret blockbuster wearing a saddle, but it sold well enough to stay in the conversation, and it kept getting purchased long after the joke had already escaped the stable. Then Bethesda leaned into the joke. In 2009, during an April Fool's sale, they discounted other Oblivion DLC, but doubled the price of horse armor, because at that point, the joke had become part of the product. And somehow people still bought it. That is why horse armor became impossible to dismiss, not because it invented DLC, it did not. Downloadable content existed before this, like expansion packs, map packs, and Oblivion itself got bigger add-ons later, like Knights of the Nine and Shivering Isles. But horse armor became the one people remembered because it exposed the business model in the funniest possible way. It was small, it was strange, it was paid, it was attached to a massive game, and people bought it anyway. That is the important part. If everyone mocked it and nobody bought it, horse armor would have been a dumb footnote. But instead, players complained, laughed, and still opened their wallets, and that made it the perfect symbol of the new digital storefront era. Horse armor showed how small paid content could get, but enough people bought it that the industry learned the most dangerous lesson possible. Jokes can still make money. And once that lesson was out there, the industry kept testing the line. A little cosmetic here, a pre-order bonus there, a premium currency bundle, a battle pass, a rotating shop, and suddenly the thing players mocked in 2006 started looking less like a one-time joke and more like an early warning label. Today, players open games and see skins, bundles, mounts, operator packs, premium currencies, and shops that refresh weekly like they're trying to trigger a shopping emergency. Fortnite sells skins, Call of Duty sells bundles, Diablo sells cosmetics, and Bethesda kept walking down that road too with Creation Club, Fallout 76 Atom Shop, and Starfield Creations. Now that does not mean every cosmetic is evil, and it does not mean horse armor personally kicked down the door and ruined the industry while wearing tiny steel boots, but it revealed the part that mattered. Players might complain, players might joke about it, but if enough people still buy it, the model survives and they can keep doing it because there's no one stopping them. So what does this actually mean? Horse armor was not evil by itself, but it was optional. It was small, it did not ruin Oblivion, it did not delete your save file, break your console, or show up at your house demanding stable rent. But it did show publishers something. Tiny digital extras could make real money, even if people mocked them, even if people complained, even if the internet turned the whole thing into a joke. And that is where the warning sign was. Horse armor was harmless in the way one leaking pipe is harmless. By itself, it is just annoying. But if nobody fixes it, eventually the whole break room smells like wet drywall and microtransactions. So now we're back in the break room. Olivia from accounting is still staring at that vending machine receipt, trying to justify the $2.50 charge. She has a mop bucket listed as premium utility mount protection, and somehow she added a second charge for defensive cleaning equipment cosmetics. So I'm like, Olivia, this is a mop bucket. It does not need a deluxe edition. I don't have the money for it. And she goes, well, it's optional. Yeah, I've seen that line used so many times before. Well, that's all I got. I gotta bounce before Olivia starts charging me Microsoft points to unlock the plunger, and if that happens, good luck on toilet cleaning. But before I go, do me a favor, hit like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want more gaming disasters cleaned up from the break room, and comment down below. Was horse armor harmless, or was it the first warning sign for all the digital content? This is Scruffy the Janitor signing off. Peace out.